In and among all that is swirling in our lives today, we come to the third Sunday of Advent, the Sunday of joy, when we read these words from Luke's Gospel, a song attributed to Mary, the mother of Jesus. You may know it as the Magnificat, Mary's treatise about the state of the world and her stubborn insistence that it just doesn't have to stay that way. You'll recall, as the story goes, an angel came to a young, unmarried woman and told her she would give birth to a baby. That all sounds so nice and sweet to our modern ears, given perhaps, as the New York Times reported a few years ago, that more than half of the women under 30 in the United States who give birth are unmarried. That, however, was not the case back in Mary's day. She was likely a young teenager in a culture oppressed by Roman rule, held together by strict social and cultural mores in which women were like property. A baby out of wedlock, that would render a woman damaged goods, her life ruined. On this Sunday of joy, we can't help but note the desperation of Mary's situation. Her life is scored with discordant notes of fear, desperation, uncertainty, maybe devastation. And still, she sings a song of liberation, of freedom, of righting old wrongs, of bringing life and healing and hope into a situation, into a world where these are not readily apparent. And she sings them in past tense, as if to say, even in the middle of all of this pain, I already know what God is up to. I defiantly claim joy today, that God has already redeemed the darkest pain of my life. Do you feel sorry for me? Don't feel sorry for me, because God has already scattered the proud and brought the powerful down from their thrones and filled the hungry with good things, and God has kept his promise. God has already done it, and God will do it again. This is joy. Speaking promise into pain, not sugary, smiley, everything is just fine giddiness, but an assurance in the middle of desperation that this devastation around us is not the final word. Writer Joyce Holliday writes of visiting a Salvadoran refugee camp in Honduras where injustice and suffering were daily realities. She talked to one of the relief workers there, an American who was on mission from the state of Indiana. And this woman told her about a refugee woman who came to her and asked, "Why do you look so sad all the time, so burdened and depressed?" And the relief worker answered by talking about the grief she felt over all the suffering she was witnessing and her commitment to give everything she had to the struggle of these refugees. That refugee woman looked at her and said, "Only people who expect to go back to North America in a year look the way you do. We cannot be serious about our struggle unless we play and celebrate and do those things that make it possible to give our entire lives to this struggle." And they meant it too. Every time the refugees were displaced and had to build a new camp, they immediately formed 3 committees: a construction committee, an education committee, and a committee of joy. Celebration was as basic to the life of the refugees as digging latrines or teaching their children how to read. Mary's words today are not words we take lightly. They are defiant and subversive words. She sang them in the face of a culturally devastating pregnancy, of a life ruined. But what about us? How can we sing a song of joy in this season that reminds us at every turn how broken our lives and our families are? How can we sing songs of joy in a city and country rocked again by racial injustice? And how can we sing them today, 2 years since the very day that 20 children died in an elementary school and we pretended to be outraged, but we still have done nothing of substance to address gun violence. Sing words of joy into situations like these? Yes. Yes, we will. Like Mary, we will, because this is the radical act of Advent, of joy, the unwavering insistence that God has already done what we cannot manage to do on our own, and we will celebrate that. We will raise our voices and sing defiantly of the God who shows up in barren places, who creates life out of death. We will sing with Mary, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. We will sing with joy, and we will hear now the voices of our children, the very embodiment of subversive joy, who remind us that in what seems like overbearing darkness, Christ is our light. Amen.